orientation. Oh my God. Jeez. Okay, so what? Sorry, everyone. I guess YouTube won't let me. What is going on? It won't let me. It won't let me stream horizontal again. Jeez. Well, looks like we're doing vertical today. Thanks, YouTube. I don't know why it's so. For some reason, YouTube really wants you to stream vertical, which is terrible for artists. Really want to be vertical. It goes. It's so to find the horizontal setting. I couldn't even find it, or else I would not have ended up this way. But anyway, let's begin. I just can't start. I can't possibly make a YouTube live stream without problems. It's always going to be problems. It's just the way. I don't know how to do this without problems. I just don't think YouTube likes me very much. All right. All right, let's begin. All jokes aside. Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Chris Legaspi, and today we are going to talk about designing with gesture. So gesture is a very important part of figure drawing, obviously, and it's a very deep, important in figure drawing. But what we're going to do today is we're going to focus on how we can design gesture when we draw from life, when we draw from time poses. And we're going to talk about design. We're going to talk about how we can design with gesture, and we're going to begin the discussion with some of the basic principal ideas, and then we'll go through some demonstrations, and we'll be able to draw it together. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you. This page here is a page in my life drawing book, Life Drawing for Artists, that I wrote. It's a wonderful book, and it is really a guide to life drawing, which is kind of what we're going to go through today. So thank you for being here. And if you like this video and you like my work, I just want to quickly plug my website, my book, and some ways you can learn from me. Figure drawing is a very deep and complex topic. We can't possibly hope to cover it all in this short little YouTube video today. More about figure drawing. If you want to learn more from me, if you like my work, you like my teaching. Number one, I have a website. Go to www.drawwithchris.com, and there I have lots of free resources where you can download free figure drawing resources. I have a huge free figure drawing download now available on my website. So all you have to do is subscribe to my free email list. You'll get access to that, www.drawwithchris.com. If you want to learn more in depth about my figure drawing philosophy, you can check out my book, Life Drawing for Artists, published by Rockport Publisher. I believe it's in at least 5 languages now, available all over the world. This is the US English version. So you can get that at every major bookseller, and of course Amazon as well. And also on my website, I have a full figure drawing masterclass program. So it's a very in-depth 8-week-long program where I simulate a figure drawing live class. So it's a very in-depth master program. Everything I know about figure drawing, you can get access to that on my website as well. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you. go back to this page. And before we begin, comment below, where are you located? Where are you watching from and what time is it for you? I am currently in Thailand myself, and it's 10 a.m. Sunday morning for me, so thank you for being here. You are. All right, so here's a look at a page of gestures from my book. Now let's get into the meat of this discussion here. This vertical's a little weird. Okay, so let's see what we can see here. Kind of like this clipboard look. All right, so we're going to talk about gesture. And gesture is a huge topic. So we're going to break it down. Gesture during life drawing, which is a great exercise that has time poses. And we're going to talk specifically about gesture design. How to design with gesture, okay? That's the goal of this discussion. And this video was kind of inspired by a recent workshop I did, life drawing over in Thailand. So those of you watching from, hello to you. Thank you for coming out today. And I just want to kind of cover the topics in more detail. So those of you who did come to the life drawing, definitely learn a lot more in depth today. So how do we design with gesture? How do we design with gesture? How? First, we need to know what is gesture, and then we're going to talk about how to use it, okay? So what is gesture? What is gesture? I define gesture as the relationship. I define gesture as the relationship. Gesture is the relationship of two or more forms in space. So let's say you have some object here in space, and you have some object here in space. Gesture is this. It's the relationship from this object in space to this object in space. And it can be any object, it can be any distance, it can be really far, like this. Or it can be very close, like this. So it's the relationship. It's the relationship. That is gesture. In the simplest terms, it's the relationship of two or more forms in space, basically, okay? And of course, when we draw the figure, we know there's a head, there's body parts. So in figure drawing, we know how useful this is, right? Obviously, because we have lots of part drawing. The relationship from the shoulder to the hip is a gesture. Relationship from the shoulder to the rib cage is a gesture. From the rib cage to the hip is a gesture. From the hip to the ankle or the calf, or from the hip to the knee to the ankle, for the knee to the ankle to the foot. That's all gesture. So we know how useful gesture is, how necessary it is. Basically, the relationship. Now, in figure drawing, there's two ways to interpret gesture. There's two ways to interpret gesture. Number one is center line, and number two is with the contour. With the contour. Center line states that if you have a form, let's say you have a series of forms. Let's say you have a head or something like that, an egg and a box. Center line states that these two forms, boop, 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 if we go through the middle of these forms, the middle of this egg, the middle of this egg, middle of this box, we have the gesture, okay? Now, contour states if we have a series of forms, we can relate them on the outside of the form. So we take the outside of this egg, the outside of this egg, outside of this box, which is also the gesture. So this is quite a unique thing. Quite a unique thing, and they're both valid. Lots of artists do this. This is valid. Animators do a lot of this. I'm more in this camp. I'm a designer. I am a figurative realist, professional illustrator. I'm more in this camp. I'm also an American. I'm also more of an illustrator. I'm also more a realist. I'm in this camp. Maybe if you're more of an animator, you're in this camp. They're both valid. They both work. They're both great. Fantastic. And what's cool about, there's a couple things really cool about the contour approach, but I also want to show you a third way, which is which is the third way. You can do a little bit of both, my friends. And this is cool. So check this out. Obviously, if you have a head, and let's say you have a third form, like that. You say you have a series of forms like that. What you can do is you can take the contour. You say, okay, outside, outside, outside. And then you can actually cut through the center line of one form to arrive at the contour of another form. So let's say if you want, and we'll talk about this, the importance of elongating the gesture. If you want to make your gesture longer, and you want to say, oh, I want to relate, remember, relationship. I want to relate the head to the toe. How can we get there in a fluid, efficient way? We'll talk about that in a minute. We can cut through center line, you see, right there. So when contour, 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 cut into center line, back to contour, 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 you see? So that is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. You'll see me do this a lot. But again, they both work. All three of these work. These are great. Now, another cool thing about contour-based gesture or a contour method is that, see if I have a little bit of room here. If we look at the contour method, the contour can affect the center line. So for example, let's say you have two forms, or you have some kind of arm. Let's say you have long form like this, some kind of arm or limb, right? Now, if both of the contour sides are fairly the center line is smack in the middle. So you see, quite centrable. But let's say you design the contour line So now you have a bit more of an interesting bup, 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 bup. You see? You see how interesting that is? You see, if you find the contour, and we'll talk about this in another video, this is part of the discussion. I just want to show you how cool it is. The contour has a tremendous effect on the movement of the center line. Okay? So that's something to think about, and we'll touch on this in a later video. But essentially, this is gesture. It's the relationship, and we can approach it in a couple different ways. And what's cool about gesture design, another cool thing about gesture design is, grab my notes here. Is the, sorry, let me drew my notes here. Oh, so gesture is relationship, now one way to the relationship, one way to think about gesture is the function. And for me, the function of gesture is to show and communicate movement. The movement of the figure or the form. So, let's just take a basic arm. Say basic arm is bending. So you have a basic male muscular arm making the bicep pose, right? Bending. That action is this way, right? The arm is coming this way. So we want the gesture, in this case, we're going to use contour to communicate that fold. You see? That is the movement of this arm from the shoulder to the elbow, the wrist, and whatever fingertips we can get a hold of. That is the movement. Same way if the arm was more elongated. Let's say the arm is really elongated and the wrist is also flowing. The tricep, brachialis, right? So again, male arm, but a different movement. Obviously, this is the movement, especially if we, so the movement, it's the movement. What is the thing doing? What is the thing doing? That's a great question to ask yourself. What is the thing doing? Is it bending and compressing? Is it elongating? When we draw the whole figure, let's say we have the whole figure, classic, let's say we have a classic female contrapposto pose. Right? What is the figure doing? Well, the figure is basically standing. So that is really the action line of the pose, or we can start with the main mass of the torso. We'll talk about that in a minute. See, so that's the simple action of the figure. What is the thing doing? It's standing in contrapposto. Of course, we can have dynamic poses that aren't standing. For example, let's say you have a ballet dancer or a gymnast or a yoga teacher doing a very dynamic pose. What is the movement of this thing? It's clearly this way, but if we follow the forms, the movement of the thing is a beautiful long curve, you see? So that is the movement of this thing. It's kind of flying this way. The body's thrusting this way, but the forms are bending in this beautiful long curve. So that's the main function for me when I draw a gesture from a model. The main function for me is I got to communicate the movement of the form, the whole figure and the forms. Whole figure and the forms. And we'll talk about how we can get there in a minute. Now, let's talk how to draw. This is a big one. How to draw a gesture. Well, typically, number one, gesture comes in a couple forms. Typically, they're going to be in these forms. Some kind of straighty form, a curve, or an S. And this is probably going to be about 80% of your marks will be curved because we're drawing figures, which are organic things. And organic things aren't straight, but we can use straights to create contrast and impact. So this is a design tool. And one way to interpret straights is we don't necessarily like that. We can kind of go like that. We can kind of make it somewhere in between. Somewhere in between a straight and a C curve can make kind of straight-ish curves and marks. So these are quite sexy and exciting and very useful as well. So even though straights don't exist, we want to be conscious of them, conscious when we use our straights, because they're more of a design tool in my mind, because they just don't exist. So a lot of what we're gonna do is here, and S are basically two C curves that go in different directions. It's also known as twist. So sometimes you'll see twist. So these are the forms that we'll see: a straight, a curve, C curve, S curve. But really the thing that helps me to design the figure properly, there's two things that I use a lot to help me design the figure using gesture. Is number one, we draw, we want to have accomplished our number one goal, which is to make it as long and fluid as possible. Long, that's number one. Number two is as simple as possible. As long as possible and as simple as possible. And remember, I talked about this, as simple, we can't get any simpler than one beautiful line or stroke. So let's do that now. as long as possible. As long as possible. What does that mean? What does that mean? When we draw figures, in my mind, we want to try to go head to toe. Head to toe, top to bottom, from one extremity to the other. Head to toe, top to bottom, left to right if they're lying down. And I would argue we want to go, if limbs involved, we want to go from fingertip to toe tip. Fingertip to toe tip. That's as long as we can get. So as long as possible, my friends. Fingertip to toe tip, head to toe. What does that look like? So for example, we did a couple of, let's say we have a classic, male standing pose. Oops, can't see me doing. Doing something like that. His toes here. His toes here. Okay. So what we want to do is head to toe. I like to look at the extremities. I like to look at the torso. If we go from head to toe, can we get from here to here? Can we get from head to toe? Can we get from head to toe in one line? Yeah, there's a couple ways. One, there's one way. There's a simple way, like that. Semi-straight. We can go against, I don't like this way, but we can go against the curve of the torso. Go this way. But I like this way because it follows the curve of the torso. So to me, this is the most logical choice right here. Remember, I like to focus on the contour. So that's a lot. Can we go from fingertip to toe? Can we go from fingertip to toe? Let's see. Fingertip, in this case, is above the gesture. Can we go from here to here? We can. There's a couple ways. The gesture of the arm is fairly straight. See, one way to get there. Can we get from this tip to this fingertip? Yes, we can. We can actually do this. So this is an envelope. See, that is a gesture. That is very straight, but it's also, that's what, an envelope. But it is a gesture. It's the relationship of the finger to the toe, and whoosh, it's a straight line. But we can take the relationship of the finger to this toe and also include the hip in our interpretation by doing this, and maybe some of the knee. So you see, it depends on what forms you want. So finger to hip to knee to toe is this. Finger to toe is this. Finger to wrist to arm to hip to calf to toe is this. So it depends on kind of what forms you want to capture. But that's That's the thinking. This is a very simplistic way. Obviously, I cover a lot more in this book and in my program. That's a very simplistic way to look at it. The basic way, head to toe, fingertip to toe. Long, my friends. Long, 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 long. As long as possible. Number 2 is as simple as possible. And you're already seeing it here. Nothing is as simple as one pretty line. Nothing is as simple as one line. So what we want to do is to simplify. So let me just get an example here. That's not a good example. Let's see. Here's a great example. Here's a great example. Let's see if I got some paper. Oh, I do. Perfect. Simple. Simple, simple, simple will make your life easier. So, let's just start with the torso. And hip line here. Let's find the hip line real quick. Now, as you can see, we have lots of pretty detail. We have, pectoralis muscle here. We have the inside of the arm. We have the little bit of a back muscle here. We have a lat here. We have some rib cage, some bone action. We have some abdominals. We have the hip popping out. We have the glutes popping out. Okay, so we got some interesting stuff here. Now, when we draw from life, when we begin our gesture process, we want to be simple as long as possible, but as simple as possible. Can we get from here, let's just focus on the torso. Can we get from the shoulder to the hip with one line? Of course we can. How do we do that? We just go whoosh, whoosh. You see? You see how pretty that looks? One line, one line. Just like we draw from the shoulder, whoosh, right? There's a bunch of pretty anatomy here. Oh, there's the shoulder, neck, 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 bone, neck, neck, bone, vein, neck, bone, neck, da. But nope. We don't do that. We don't go but. We go whoosh, whoosh. One line. This case is a straight. So you see, simple is the way to go. Let's quickly look at the leg. The leg has some beautiful detail too. So let's just look at the leg here. So the leg also has, let's say the leg has a hip, a thigh bump, a thigh muscle bump, a tendon, a little bit of bone, and then the meat of the calf muscle, a little bit of bone, the bone of the ankle, top of the foot, toe. See, a little bit bumpy. Can we get from here to here, maybe to the ankle or to the toe, there in one line? Can we get there in one line? That's the goal. Can we get there in one line? Of course we can. We just go whoosh. You see? Whoosh. Now, you're saying, oh, Chris, you have some negative space. Of course, that's okay. That's okay, because guess what? I accomplished my main goal, which was to relate the hip to the toe and to show movement. The movement of this leg is a slight weight-bearing bend. That's the movement of this leg. And of course, going back to our first point, long, and notice what happens when we think long and simple. Look how pretty and powerful that is. Look how pretty and simple and clean that is. When it looks like that, it has power, it has movement, it has speed, and it's pretty. It's aesthetically beautiful. It's excellent, right? Because the opposite, we the opposite we definitely don't want to do. So let's say you're not trained, you've never seen me or other figure drawing teachers, you don't have my book, and you go to life drawing, you go, oh, well, I see, okay, well, I see, I see a muscle, I see a thing, I see there's a, oh, I see a rib thing, oh, wow, okay, well, I see some abs, all right, I see a wrinkle, oh, I see a hip, oh, there's some skin folds, there's some wrinkles, oh, there's some muscle, oh, and then there's a thing, oh, there's some, wow, oh, you see, I make this all the time. That is not, you see how just like terrible, it just looks terrible. We don't want to do that. We want whoosh, that, my friends. That's just much prettier and cleaner and more efficient. This is cool. It's more aesthetically pleasing, it's faster, it's smoother, it's crisper, it's sharper, it's a win. This is winning. This kind of goes back to how to draw. We want to draw with one line. Really, the core is how to draw is to make one line as long as possible. One line as long as possible. I'll say it again, one line as long as possible. So we don't do this, just like we saw. We don't go, like that, no. We certainly don't do this either. Short little, no, we do that. Whoosh, you see, whoosh, one long line. And a great way to practice this, if you're new to this concept, it's very important. I'm gonna write it on my page. Long and simple. One way to practice good gesture mark making is to make 2 dots and try to connect. Whoosh. Try to make them as possible. Whoosh. Try to make them as long as possible. Whoosh. And also want to draw. See, right now I'm on a video. I'm on a tiny screen, so you see me drawing actually from a little bit of my shoulder and elbow. So shoulder, elbow, and your pencil, right? Obviously, you want to draw from here, because if you try to do size with your wrist, you see I can't even move my wrist. But if you use your whole arm, you just go whoosh. And I like to draw standing up. I like to draw standing up on a big board if I do life drawing, and that way I can body. So I can go from here to way here. You see, I missed, but you see the power of that line. That is how you want to make a mark, my friends. You don't want to go. You see how ugly that looks? See how pretty that looks? This is how you do it, my friends. So put 2 dots on some paper. I suggest standing up and try to connect them. So straights is one. One way to have more fun is to see if you can connect with the C curve. So you take 2 dots, go like this. Try to connect with one long, pretty C curve. One long, pretty C curve. One long, pretty C curve. One really long. So let's say you're here and you want to get way down here. Practice one long, pretty C curve. So I'm pretty close. I'm pretty close. I've been doing this for a long time. You see how pretty that line looks? That's how you want to make a gesture line, my friends. And obviously the next evolution, straight, straight, straight. Practice curve, curve, curve. Practice S curve. Try to connect 1, 2, 3 lines. This S curve, 1, 2, 3 lines. See if you can connect with one line. You see? Zoom. So that's a great exercise to practice. It's in my book. I have some videos as well. Where is it? It's back here somewhere. I purposely put it in this book for a reason. There it is. It's that important, my friends. It's that important. It's that important. So it's just very fun, very easy, very fun exercise. Anybody can do it. So there you go. And it'll kind of get you to think. And you'll see in the demonstration how we apply this. Shall we do some demonstrations? I think that really covers it. It's good to do some demonstrations now. Before we do that, before we do demonstrations, I want to go back to gesture. Its function is to communicate movement. And one way we want to think about the movement is what's called primary action. Primary action of the pose or a form. Primary action of the pose or the form. There's a couple ways to call this. One, it's called action line. Steve Houston calls it the thrust. And he also calls it the fundamental design line, or FDL for short. Fundamental design line. And so we'll talk about this in a future video, because this is really important. When we design with gesture, we want to think of it as a design tool that also accomplishes a bunch of things. Let's see, how can I explain this? Just like we talked about the torso. So let's say you have a torso and male torso, right? So the primary movement or action of this pose, we know, remember, long and simple is this long C curve that relates the or shoulder line, shoulder to the hip. So we know that. That is the action of this pose, of this form. Same when we draw a leg. Let's say we want to draw a leg. And let's say it's the leg of a dancer or a ballerina. And they're doing a really pretty toe point. And it's quadriceps, knee. So the action of this form is a pretty S-curve. It's a pretty long, pretty S-curve. You see, that's the action, the movement, the primary action of this form. That's the fundamental design line of this form that we build on top. Now that's the form. When we talk about the whole figure, there's a couple things we have to think about. Let's go back to this example here. Let's go back to this example. We know that this is the action of the torso, but what is the primary action of the whole pose? What is primary action of the whole pose? There's a couple things going on, right? The arm is kind of doing this leg is doing this, but if we look from head to toe, what the figure is doing, let's stop and think the figure is doing. What the figure is doing is standing, bending to one side, weight on one leg mostly, and head kind of tilted away. So head looking down, standing, severe bend, weight on one leg, standing, weight on one leg, severe bend, head looking down. The logical choice would be a powerful curve from head to toe. That, my friends, is what Steve calls the FDL, what animators call the action line, the head to toe action line. Now, of course, there's secondary actions too, but for the figure, the whole figure as a whole, that's the fundamental design line. Look at another quick example. Example. We saw this one earlier in another video. We saw this one earlier in a previous video. So we have a couple things going on. We have the head, we have the gymnast, obviously. We have the arm here. So clearly, we can interpret the action in a couple ways. We could say, well, Chris, he's lifting himself up. So we could say, oh, and kind of doing this, right? And there's a strong push here. So that could be the action line, yes. But what is the longest, most uninterrupted thing? And that is head to toe, whoosh, you see? That is a longer, more powerful, more encompassing. It goes from head to toe, not just shoulder to arm, from head to toe. And we can interpret a couple different ways, through the contour, through the arch, through the stretch of the torso. So you see that becomes the FDL, the M line, FDL, AL, whatever, you see? So even though there's maybe a couple things going on, if we look at the whole figure as a whole and try to see what is the main action that has the longest, most uninterrupted curve, that's one way to look at it, forgot to mention, is the action line. I forgot to mention one of Steve's definition for the thrust and the primary action is the longest, most uninterrupted gesture line. The longest, most uninterrupted gesture line. So although this is an action of the pose, he's lifting himself up, literally lifting his body up. So that is a movement. We need to account for that. But the longest, most uninterrupted gesture is not, it's clearly head to toe. Whoosh, you see? So that's how you want to think about the primary gesture, the most important gesture, which we need to capture first. So that's a big part of the process. And we'll look at some examples now. And we'll talk about how we can design off this line in future videos. And just want to quickly plug my book. It's a good, we're going to do demonstrations now, so it's a good stopping point here. Thank you for joining me today. If you like this video so far, and you want to learn more about figure drawing, you like my work, you like the way I teach, I have a couple resources available for you. Number one is my website. Go to www.drawwithchris.com. There you can enter your email, sign up for my free emails list, and access to all of my free resources that I don't release to the public. So I got a huge drawing download available for free. So you go to my website and get that. Number two is my book, which you see here, Life Drawing for Artists, published by Rockport. It's in 5 languages now, so it's available all over the world. I'm very grateful. I get a lot of nice reviews on this book. I get comments almost every day from people who enjoy this book. It's basically about life drawings. It's specifically tailored for drawing from a live model. That's what this book is for. And so you can check that out, available at all booksellers. And also on my website, you can get access to my full figure drawing masterclass program. I have a full 8-week-long program. It's very in-depth. It's over 16 hours long. And you'll basically learn everything you need to know. It's basically a simulated classroom. So if you like my work, you like the way I teach, and you spend 16 hours or more with me, I have a full figure drawing masterclass program at www.drawwithchris.com. All right, let's get back to work here. Commercial break is over. Let's do some demonstrations now. What I'd like to do now is draw time poses from life. Let's see if we can make this happen. I have New Masters Academy here. Shout out to NMA. I don't know if we can see. This is New Masters Academy figure drawing session Andrea. So it's a male model. I don't know how much I can on camera because we're doing the vertical thing here. Let's see. Okay, this should be fine. Let's try this. Do some time poses here so you can see the thought process. I'll probably stop a lot. Oops. Try to do the best I can here with the vertical format. I appreciate you guys here. YouTube wouldn't let me do horizontal for some reason, but it really doesn't matter. We don't need horizontal, right? It's all good. We just want the knowledge. Comment below if you just want the knowledge. You love learning about art and realism, academic art. You just love it, love it, love it. Figure drawing. If you're a figure drawing fanatic like me, we just want the knowledge. We don't care if it's horizontal, Chris. All right, so we're going to draw time poses, and time poses, again, is a huge, important practice. I believe we're going to go from 1 minute to 2 minutes. So let's do some 1 minute, and let's focus on the torso, just so we can see the process. I'm only going to focus on the torso. I'm going to demonstrate so we can see the process, okay? So this is a good way to begin to learn the gesture process, to learn my philosophy anyway. What you're seeing on this video is to practice the torso. So let's begin. 1 minute poses. Here we go. Set the timer. And if interesting point, I will stop. So let's see. Let's go here. Shoulder line is a gesture. I see a long Z curve from shoulder to hip, and then every stretch must have a pinch. So this is structure now. So this is G, this is S. Center line. So even though I start with the contour, of course, I respect and honor center line. And I got a lot done here. sorry if you can't see it. I got a lot done very quickly. But you see how I'm at the armpit and I'm looking at where the hip connects, and boom, that's the primary action right there. Okay, another nice dynamic pose. So only the torso. Let's see. 1 minute. I'm looking at shoulders, the points of the shoulder, acromion, and the head of the humerus, whatever bony points I can see or not see, I just imagine they're there. Shoulder line, so I'm going from shoulder line. I'm looking at the hip, which is behind his leg. Can't see it, but I can guess where it is and just go whoosh. And I'm also looking at the curve, the C right there, that's an extremity. So shoulder, this is important here. Let's pause for a minute. I'm looking at shoulder, extremity, so only the torso. The extremities are top, side, and bottom, right? Top, side, and bottom. The extremity is the shoulder. The extremity at the top is the other shoulder. The extremity at the bottom is the hip. So I'll just quickly just make a guess, right? Is one when I look at the hip are the genitals, which are roughly here. The genitals and the great trochanter, which is the bony point of your femur, your big leg bone. So it's behind here, it's here, and it's kind of here. I can't really see it right now, it's in shadow. So I'm just guessing, it's there, it's there. I do see it, obviously, so I'm just making my best guess based on what I see. So whoosh, whoosh. Now I'm also looking at the extremity, which is the outer edge of the form, in this case, bulge of the rib. So it's right here. So I basically have 1, 2, 3 points. And remember, gesture is relationship and it's movement. It's simple and it's long. So how can we get from here to here and here and here, here? One long, pretty curve. Boom. And that's it, my friends. So that's what I'm looking at. Extremities. Extremities, shoulder and hip line. In this case, it is the classic leave my mouth a little dry today. I'm dry today for some reason. Okay, let's look at one more 1 minute here. So shoulder line is clearly hidden. Shoulder line is hidden, but you see that highlight? That's what I'm looking at. That only occurs because there's a sharp point, there's a crescendo, there's a peak of form, and most likely it's a bone. Most likely it's a bone. Now he is muscular, he is lean and muscular, so his deltoid muscles can be firm enough to produce, you see the shape of that highlight? It's quite a firm, hard shape. It can produce that shape, muscle alone, but most likely that's a bone because I know there's a bone there. And what we're looking at is the head, upper arm bone, the humerus. So most likely that's a bone. So bone is the top of the form. Extremity, obviously in this case, it's the muscle, the edge of the lat muscle right here. Muscle here, and then, what's I gotta say? The hip is here. So this is interesting. It's got a bit of an S curve, actually. Got a bit of an S curve. And the genitals are here, very easy to see in this case, even though they're in shadow. So let's keep going here. Hopefully this will make more sense as we go along. Long, pretty stretch. So this is an S-curve design. Interesting. Okay, so that was a couple 1-minute poses, torso. Now let's look at some 2-minute poses with the full figure. Let's see if we can skip to the 2 minutes here. Oh, this is great. I'm very excellent. Here we go, our first 2-minute pose. So just such an excellent resource, New Masters Academy. Comment below if you are a New Masters Academy member. Such a wonderful company. Of course, I'm very biased. I work for them. I'm in their library. So of course, my opinion is biased, but I think many people would back me up on my opinion that New Masters is the greatest art resource online. Shout out New Masters here. So let's do a couple of 2-minute poses now. See what we can get done here with our nice little vertical format. So now we're gonna do the whole figure. We're gonna try anyway, see how much we can get done. And I'll talk about the process as we go. All right, so where's the figure? There's the figure. Okay, so we got the whole figure, head to toe. What I like to do is first look at the torso and go, okay, what's going on with the torso? There's clearly a bend. It's got that little bit of an S bend that we saw there, that strong contrapposto, so there's a nice bend here. All right, so that's definitely the main action of the torso. Probably would help if I had a different color pencil here. Sorry, let me grab a white pencil. It's easier to see. Okay, hopefully it's easier to see. It's not really, it's a blue pencil. Sorry, I just want something to point with. It's not black. Okay, so it's clearly the torso. You see that beautiful curve. Now, remember, the first and most important gesture is what's called the fundamental design line, the thrust. And that is the thrust of the torso. But what is the whole action of the pose? Well, actually, the action of the pose is quite straight. If we look at the contour, you see, has that beautiful S. Head to extremity, toe. Head to toe, head to toe tip, fingertip to toe tip. I can get from here to here, right? That's pretty long. What is the longest, most uninterrupted line? It's from head, top of the head, to the toe. Can we get there in one curve? Yes, we can get there in an S curve. And that is what I see, my friends. Extremity, top to bottom, extremity left to right. Here it's the foot, the rib cage, point of the shoulder. In this case, it's the hands and the stick, okay? Extremity, top, bottom, right. The action from top to bottom, if we follow the contour and design with the contour, is a beautiful S curve. You see, I'm going from here to here to here. I'm going from here to here, but I'm going to hit a couple points, and I'll show you what that looks like. Let's start. That's what I see. Here, let's draw. Here we go. We got 2 minutes. So there's a couple ways to approach. Actually, let's do this pose twice. I'll show you a couple ways to approach. One is the head to toe method. So let's do head to toe, for lack of a better, head to toe. Gosh, you can't see that, can you? Head to toe method, also known as. A lot of people ask me about enveloping. Those of you watching who went to the workshop, maybe you watched my videos, maybe you've came to one of my life drawing workshops, one of my life drawing events, one of my seminars, and you're like, what a thing that Chris Legaspi does with the thing. That looks so cool. It's called enveloping. And you just explain it. I'm going head to toe, contour focused, long, 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 head to toe and extremities. So from here, I'm covering the head, the thing, the shoulder, the rib, and this extremity, the foot. Whoosh. To this toe, to this extremity, whoosh, on the outside. From finger to the ground, in this case it's a stick, finger to the ground, whoosh, you see? That's the head to toe method. The other way is what I call the torso method or torso focused method. I also use this. It's quite valid. In this case, I will focus on the torso first. And then build off of that. You see? So they're both valid. They both get my stamp of approval. Ideally, you want to kind of blend and use both. That's the magic, my friends. If you want to use both, go use enveloping when it's useful. For example, from here, you see from the hand to the ground, it's useful to go whoosh, whoosh, make an envelope. From the toe to the stick, it's useful to just whoosh. You see, that's just useful and smart, and if it's fast, it's clean, it's efficient. One line. Remember, we want to try to do this one line, but this way gives you a lot of control too. So when you want more control, then you come in and think about the torso first. When you want speed, contour, shape design, you want to go here, and then so you can blend the two, and you just win. You win-win because they both work. All right. So with that in mind, let's draw this pose again, and I'll show you. Show you what that looks like. Okay, 2-minute pose. Let's see. I'm gonna naturally draw, so maybe you can guess what method I'm doing. In my mind, this pose is more about stuff, anatomy, lighting, than action. It's not the most dynamic pose. It's a gorgeous pose, but it's not like a super dynamic gymnast or something. So for me, this method works pretty good. There you go. There you go. Maybe you're wondering, God, why does he do that stuff? What's wrong with him? Chris, why do you do this weird long line stuff? It's just the way, my friends. It's just the way. That's just the way we roll. Oh, we got some time. I forgot we had 2 minutes. So when we got time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to refine. Let me pause it here. If you have time, this is a good point. If you have time, if you have more time, let's say you have more time, okay? Do not add unless it's helpful. Do not add stuff. So if you have more time, don't go, oh, wow, I got a whole minute. Let me draw serratus. Oh, detail, vein, ruin your drawing. No. If you have time, refine, refine. Check. If you have time, refine what you have. Don't add a bunch of stuff. No, don't add serratus, veins, details. Don't frigging draw into hairs. Don't take your white pencil and draw frigging highlights everywhere. No. Refine what you have. You only got a minute left in gesturing. Gesture drawing is really a line exercise. It's really more about line and movement and training your eye, training your arm, training your body. It's not about adding stuff. It's we're training. So let's refine what we have, all right? So it probably helps if you don't draw in pen. Can I see my original was here? Can I make it more exciting? Oh yeah, I can push it this way. So refine. Can I push this one this a little bit? Can I bulge it out more? A little bit. So you see, I already made my drawing better. I didn't make my drawing better. I didn't make my drawing better by adding serratus and wrinkles. No, I refined the original gesture. Look how more powerful that gesture is, you see? So if you have more time, refine, my friends. Don't add stuff. Refine what you have. Refine what you have. Make it better. Can you make my pinchy more pinchy? A little bit, a little bit. Can we make the leg gesture better? A little bit. Can we finish the inside gesture? Okay. See, I'm refining my idea. I'm not adding, I'm just refining my original idea of the gesture. Can we make this leg read better? A little bit. And there you go. See? That was a nice 2-minute pose. And remember too, keep in mind, time pose does not equal finished drawing. My God, this drives me bananas. No, 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 no. Do not try to finish a drawing in 2 minutes, please. My God. Or 5 minutes or 10. You don't not believe how often I see this. This drives me absolutely bananas. I'll say to the student, okay, guys, we're going to have 1 minute pose and rush. Oh, I got to get a finished drawing or else I can't post it on Instagram. I'm a loser. No, 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 no. You don't have to finish a drawing, okay? It's just a side note. It's really about practice. It's an exercise. Practice, exercise, okay? Finishing, it's practice, it's an exercise. So yes, you may have more time. Don't be tempted to try to finish the drawing. If you have more time, just refine the lines and marks that you have, okay? Shall we do one more? Let's do one more. This is a nice pose. And I'll try not to rent as much. Save some paper here. Let's save the trees a little bit. Save the trees. Got a nice pose here. Let's see what we can do with this pose. And I'll use more of the envelope method here. Or the action method, whatever. There you go. So that's my action. My secondary action is the pole. I like the pole, so I'm going to acknowledge the pole. Let me build on this. This is the FDL, remember? As Steve calls it, the thrust, fundamental design lines are right here. Can I build on that? Can I build on that? Can I refine it? Let's see. Can I make it more curvy, more dynamic, more action-y? I got about 20 seconds left. What should I refine? Let me get the arms. Let me note the arms. Let me note the hands. Note the arms. Note the hands. And I'm probably going to run out of time soon. There you go. Not much done. Reads so well, so nice. How much time we got? Oh, we've been talking a long time. I think it's a good stop, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. In the next video, we'll talk about more how we can design the figure off of our fundamental design line. And we'll close with that. So thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you. Let me just shout out my book here again. And I got a whole chapter on this. I got a whole, look at that, form and function gesture. Beautiful. So we'll close with that. Thank you for joining me today. If you like this video, if you like my work, you want to learn more about figure drawing, more gesture drawing, about design, and learn from me, I got a couple of resources for you. Number one is my website. Go to www.drawwithchris.com and you can download some free resources, including a free figure drawing load of videos and handouts. Massive downloads available for free. Check that out there on my website. I also have my book here. This is inside of my book, Life Drawing for Artists, published by Rockport Publishing. It's available in 5 languages. This is thing that I know about life drawing. So this is the manual to help you conquer life drawing, which is arguably the most important exercise for realists and for sure for figurative artists. Life Drawing for Artists, available in 5 languages, major bookseller. And also on my website, you can download and access my full figure drawing masterclass program, an 8-week-long or 8-module. It simulates a live figure drawing class with me. So if you're really like me and you want 16 hours or more with me, mastering figure drawing together, check out my full-length program, Figure Masterclass, available on my website. So that's all for today, my friends. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.